Okay, here we go. First positions, please. Roll.
Take 4.
And action.
They've done us a great favor, Doug. We are no longer bound by allegiances. We serve no one. We live by one rule and one rule only. Never again will we allow ourselves to be put in this kind of position.
Walker and Vasquez.
All of them. I'll hold them all accountable.
Retribution?
No. It's more than that, Doug. Just take a step back. Look at the bigger picture.
I think I see what you're getting at. Kern first?
That's how you devour a whale, Doug. One bite at a time. I haven't eaten since yesterday.
Good, got it? Give me one more.
Josh Donnan told me about the show and sent the DVDs of the British show and called me and said, "You should take a look at this. This is pretty diabolical."
Even the longest, the most glittering rain must come to an end someday.
So I watched it. I think I watched 4 hours and concurred.
I have hopes of high office, I must confess, and have been promised as much by the man himself. But first things first, we have a general election to win.
David was busy doing Benjamin Button, and it was in the final stages of post. He was just buried, and so he sat on it, and then it went to Eric, and Eric loved it, and that's all David needed to hear.
I'd seen House of Cards because I remembered very well Ian Richardson breaking the line and talking to the camera, you know. And I said, this is spectacular, you know, and I watched all the episodes and I called him back and saying, this is great, you know, this is a great way to do, and it was, you know, sort of a obvious possibility of transferring it to American politics.
The British version was much shorter, the 4 one-hour episodes, but it was extraordinary, the impact that it made. The first episode, which was all about getting rid of a prime minister, appeared in the very week that Margaret Thatcher was forced out of office. I mean, there was a national crisis going on, and you're not only seeing it on the news screens, but you're also seeing it on the drama screens, and through the drama, understanding what was going on.
Of course, I watched the original one when it was on in, I think, 1990 or round about then. It was on in England, and everyone was gripped by it. It was a phenomenal sort of brave piece of television making.
John Major, who then was, who became Prime Minister after Margaret Thatcher and who therefore went campaigning to become Prime Minister after that, said that his entire campaign came grinding to a halt at 9 o'clock every Sunday evening while they all got round the television to find out what happened next.
I think that you should be Prime Minister. You're twice the man Collingridge is, or ever will be.
Well, yes, my wife is very loyal. A politician needs a wife, and other people too, regrettably. A man of state needs helpers, little elves and sprites to do his bidding.
We asked agencies to send scripts. We had talked about at one point getting somebody who had maybe not even written, maybe somebody from politics or a journalist, or, you know. And Beau had written this play, Farragut North, which we all liked very much. And we knew they were translating it to movies with the George Clooney, Grant Heslov, Ides of March.
I looked at the British miniseries, fell in love with it, immediately began to see opportunities for how we could update it, make it American, make it our own.
We met with Beau, and Beau has a kind of bizarre fascination with Washington and with political goings-on. A lot of the things that he said I felt were really smart and didn't make the storytelling easier. You know, it wasn't like you could go, okay, here are the guys with the black hats and here are the guys with the white hats.
I said to David and Eric and Josh, you know, look, I think we have an opportunity here to take some of the archetypes and some of the big story points of this miniseries and really own it and deepen it and broaden the scope and make it poignant to what's going on now. And that's exactly what they were all looking to do.
If you look at the original British series, it was hugely popular. It delved into the darker recesses of what people will do in order to achieve power or retain power. And I think it adapts really beautifully for the United States.
In Britain, I've had lots of letters when they've heard that it's been recast in the States. Oh, it can never be as good as the original. Well, of course it can be.
Of course, everybody's crazy on Twitter, and everybody's like, oh, I don't know why everybody thinks you need to remake a show when one show is so good. And I just kind of shut them all up by saying, we're not remaking it. We're doing our own version of it, and ours will be nothing like you've ever seen. So, you know what? Shove it up your ass. That's what I say.
There's a moment where you have to let that source material go and not feel like you're beholden to it, and really treat it as though you are creating a story from scratch. And I think in a lot of ways we did.
It veered away from the British series very early. The pilot is relatively similar. And I'd say the second episode draws from the British series. But the British series, the first book is only 4 parts. So we kept the idea of this reporter, this relationship that he has with a young reporter, and we kept the idea that he's kind of being the puppet master of a younger man, although in our series he's a congressman, and in the British series he, I think, was a PR guy. And we kind of, we kept FU, we kept the character, we kept the idea.
The name, of course, has been changed from the original series in my books. FU in the British version is Francis Urquhart, Urquhart being a Scottish name. I don't know too many Urquharts in the American political system, so I think the name had to change, and Francis inevitably becomes Frank to Frank Underwood. And I think that was not only entirely right, but I'm just so delighted that they kept the original ludicrous idea that the man should be summed up by his initials of FU.
I wanted to be able for at least the pilot to keep that phrase, you very well might think that, I couldn't possibly comment.
He wants to pull the strings. He wants the party leadership for one of his protégés.
You might think that. I couldn't possibly comment.
Is it education?
You might very well think that. I couldn't possibly comment.
And I thought, how do I have an American say that without sounding like a complete douchebag? Because it's just not the way that Americans speak. And then I thought of my dad, who's from South Carolina, and I pictured him saying it with his Greenville accent. And I thought, well, that might actually work. You very well might think that. I couldn't possibly comment. And so I called up my dad and I said, Dad, I just want you to say these words for me. And I just want to make sure you don't sound ridiculous. He said it, and I go, bingo. Okay, now I can pull this off.
From the moment that the first script was finished, we started talking about Kevin. And it was Kevin, and then there was nobody else. So it was kind of, we're in that beautiful place, that you love to be when you're casting something, which is, great, thanks for all the hard work. Now, if we don't get the one guy in the world who can do this, there's no point in continuing. It's such an odd trick, breaking the fourth wall. It could be done really well, or it could be done really badly. It's one of those things, if you don't get the right guy, you are well and truly fucked.
There was no backup. When you read it, you just see Kevin all over it. And we were lucky that he said yes.
Kevin pretty much said, if you let me go away for 18 months and do Richard III, if I can come back and do this, and we were like, that would be great for us because we want to write 10 other scripts. And I felt like by the time he's done, he's really going to be ready for this. So I was asking myself, I have the perfect Richard III. Now I need Lady Macbeth. I need Lady Macbeth to be somebody who makes you weak in the knees for many different reasons. And, the top of our list was Robin Wright, and I sat with Robin and I made my plea, which is, there's no reason you should do this, other than it could be really interesting, and I hope you'll take it seriously. And I gave her the script, and she liked it.
We were doing a dragon tattoo in Stockholm, and he said, will you come down and have a coffee with me? I want to talk to you about a show, no. not TV show, a show. We talked for about 3 hours. I remember just thinking, I don't want to do television, but I want to work with Fincher again and again and again. And I knew he would bring something special, and his expertise would change the venue of TV. You know, I knew it would somehow shift into something more original.
So with their blessing, we were able to go to Netflix, and Netflix was able to say yes, get a writer's room together and come up with 13 episodes.